notes, but half the time I don't even follow anything that I write here. I just be freeballing. All right, so before we even get started, yo, I want to thank you for coming.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
You came like right after work on a Thursday afternoon, so I appreciate you making the time to come over here.
Of course.
It's been a long time coming. We've been chatting it up, trying to like get this data line up. And so I'm glad to have you here. Yeah. So how you feeling, man?
I'm good.
Like before I even intro it, like I'm mad because like I was thinking, I'm like, man, I feel like I never ask people like how they're doing because like sometimes obviously the common response is like, hey, yeah, everything's okay, but like everybody's like doing something or like going through something, and a lot of times it's like sometimes just checking up, like as long as you like
it could just be that thing like, hey, like you see somebody, you may not even know them or anything. It's just like, hey, how you doing?
Yeah,
and you might not even care.
Exactly. That's a problem.
I guess it
don't
just
like
depends
that.
on the person.
Yeah, because I've never really kind of liked that small talk, and so I think like as a default, people just kind of just say everything's great, and then because it's like then you got to get into it. But
that's true.
This is another episode of the Working Podcast. I'm your host, José, but you can call me Sir because the Red Sox are the best and the Yankees are trash. I'm gonna get flamed for that immediately. I would be like, I just lost half my subscribers. Like, yo, what?
Just check the standings, bro.
Yeah. I ain't worried about that. And today I have the main man John here. Like, say what's up to the people.
What's up, people? How you doing?
Yo, so I have John here, and like we were talking about before the intro, we've been trying to line this up for some time because I actually ran into some of your work and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, I want to talk to him about it. But before we get into that, because there's something about me that's just kind of like, I can't be like 100% serious. So I gotta,
same here.
I gotta launch some of these real quick. So your name is John. Do you ever get mad that your name is John? Like, do you ever feel like, man, like there are a billion Johns in the world? Like,
I think maybe when sometimes it's too common to the point where I could be at work or wherever, and somebody could say my name and I'm just like looking back, or like I'll try to like say hi, how you doing, and somebody's behind me.
Like somebody's like, hey John, and like three people turn around.
It's a very common name.
Do you know who named you?
Definitely my father, because his name is John.
Your father?
So I'm a junior.
Yo, shout out to John Senior.
So I'm a junior. So, and I'm actually the only boy in my family, my immediate family.
Wow.
And I was the last.
The only boy.
Yeah, and I'm the youngest.
Wow.
So right off the bat, when they found out I was a boy, I was gonna be named John.
Yeah, it's a wrap. Yeah. What would you name your son, John?
It's funny. I actually had a conversation with my girlfriend, and she doesn't want.
She doesn't want John. Yeah.
I probably would, change the cycle. Break the wheel.
And
change it up.
Yeah, that's a good look, man. Yo, so I haven't seen you probably in like 2 years, but like I feel like the last time I ran into you was like in ShopRite.
Yeah,
like.
Still there.
Around 2 years ago, and I was like, oh shit, John. But it's one of those things like, I don't know. I'm not good at like running into people in public, especially like if I'm on my way to doing something. So like oftentimes I'll just like be like, what's up? And then like I'll just like scoot off, like I'll just go off and do my thing. I'm like, hey, it's you. All right, see you in 5 more years. Like
I see you right now.
But it's like, and it's not even like I do it intentionally. It's just like I'm not very good at small talk, and it's like in a situation like that, I'm like, okay, chances are, like obviously you were there working. I forgot what the hell I was doing, but like I wasn't trying to be there like mad long. And it's one of those situations like, am I really gonna stop here and have like this long ass conversation with you? But like I saw you like,
here we are now though.
Yeah, exactly, and. You have a beard, man. That's just, right? I don't know. Like, I'm immature like that. Like I see people that, obviously I knew you much younger, and for me, like just like seeing people with like facial hair is like I still can't grow that shit. Like that shit, like I have like some whiskers coming out, but like that's it. Like I'm still waiting for like my godly beard. I gotta work towards something like that.
I mean, it took me, I want to say, a couple years after high school.
Yeah,
it started really growing.
Yeah, I think I'm a really late bloomer.
And I just never shaved it.
Yeah,
you know, here and there I trim it, but
yeah, damn,
it's always been like a part of me. Yeah, for the last, I guess, 9-10 years.
Yeah. I feel that like it gives shape to like a person's face. But
yeah, believe me.
But the thing is, like before that, I probably hadn't seen you at all since like high school.
Yeah,
and we were talking off air, and in the morning I had kind of like it was mad nice outside. Like this whole week has been hot as shit in the morning, and I went out with my coffee because I was like, oh, it's like, to me, like I'm curious like what your like version of like the perfect day is, but like for me, like ideally it's cloudy, so like the sun isn't like in my face or like burning me and shit, and I like it to be just cool enough to like not need a jacket, but like not like too hot that you're like sweating as soon as you walk half a block, and like no like humidity. So like that's how this morning was, and I was like, I'm gonna just chill here and like think about shit and just drink my coffee. And I was walking and I was thinking about, you know, the people that I've had on the podcast and stuff, and how that's been like when I get feedback on like people that are watching it or listening to it. By the way, shout out to the people that are watching on Spotify and watching on YouTube. Shout out to you guys. You guys are awesome.
Subscribe.
Yeah. Like and subscribe. Check out all the links in the description. There's going to be some for this guy here. But, you know, when I think about the people that came on, I'm wondering, I'm like, you know, the people that are watching it are telling me like, oh, I haven't seen this person in like 5+ years, 10+ years. And I'm like, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, yeah, it really has been that long. But in my head, I'm like, it's weird. Like those years have all like blended together, and it feels like yesterday. Like it feels like I woke up and like I graduated yesterday. It's like, like it wasn't that far along. And I was talking to you about how like a friend of mine had mentioned that because of social media, we're all kind of like still keeping in touch, even though like, you know, putting hearts on people's photos is not like really interaction. That's not really like catching up with somebody. But I have a feeling that a lot of people are seeing like our accounts and they kind of know enough that they need to know. Like in the past, before social media, you'd graduate and you'd literally not see this person until you run into them like in a supermarket or movie theater or something. And I guess that would give people more reason to have like a longer conversation and not run off like I do. Because like you don't think you'll see them in a really long time, but here on social media, it's like you can know a lot about somebody's life and not even say a word to them, which is kind of crazy. But I don't know, like, how do you feel about that? Like, have you like caught up with anybody from high school? Like, have you like, do you feel like the same thing of like how the years have gone by, and like, does it feel like it's been 10 years?
It doesn't, and that's the scary part.
yeah, right.
But I think with social media, it's, you know, we're all connected somehow. Yeah. You know, I could just go on somebody's page. I can go on your page, for instance, and just check about how you're doing. Yeah, you know, if you're still alive. You know.
Yeah, exactly. At the very least.
So it's like it's definitely a way to connect us without really being connected. Yeah. You know, as far as like having a real conversation, because I guess through text it's not really. I mean, it's a real, but you don't get the actual like feeling of a real conversation, like the tone of the voice or anything like that. You know,
you miss out on all of that.
Yeah, you know, unless you read it in that way, but who really does that? Yeah, you know.
And so it's interesting because somebody, I don't know who, is planning a reunion for like Dickinson. And you know, in that same group chat, it was kind of like an argument, like, do we kind of need a reunion because most of the people are like keeping in touch with people that they mess with, and pretty much everybody else is like,
I think we do.
You think we do? Like there is value to.
It's just the actual face to face. You know, I think that's what 100%. A lot of people are missing.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I like this show because like, I brought people on and I've had a chance to like talk to them. Like for context, like, do you remember like I tried to think even before pressing record. Like, I don't think I know where we first met or like how we like first got introduced to each other.
That's true.
Cause like,
were you in band class?
I was not. I'm not that talented. I can't play any instrument, bro.
Well, I know you graduated with me, 2010.
Yes, at the very least, yes. I did go to that high school. That's like the most vague. Like, all right. I'm pretty sure you're in that graduating class. I'm like, yeah, it was like, what, like 400 people or whatever the hell it was? Like, it was too many of us.
Yeah. Double that.
Yeah,
like 8 to 9.
It feels like that. Like
8 to 900
big ass
people. School. How did we meet? That's a really good question.
I have no idea. But
I actually kind of was thinking about that too because Hyro brought Jose to my studio.
Shout out to Hyro one time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to the whole Kick Up. And,
yeah, that's right. Like before, before all that, shout out to Hyro one time. Shout out to Jose. Shout out to John. Y'all all produced like this project that became like Hyro's mixtape. What's it called? Ugly Mixtape.
Ugly Mixtape.
Yo, go check out Ugly Mixtape. Link in the description to Bryo's SoundCloud.
Link is also in my bio.
Yeah, link is in John's bio as well. Oh, you know what I thought about? This is so random. I'm like all over the place, but like, it's funny. My cousin's name is also John, but like his is spelled like JHON.
Wow.
And shout out to Dominicans for always finding a way to spell things a different way. Because like I think he grew up like thinking like his name was spelled wrong, and it's just like that's not even his fault. Like that's just his mom that like was like, first of all, why is there an H in John? Like
that's
John.
True.
Like I'm trying to like
because I've seen spelling like JON.
Yeah.
I've actually seen somebody pronounce John, but they spell it JAN.
JAN. Like Jan, like John.
Yeah, but it's like I guess pronounced. Yeah. The way it's spelled makes it seem like it's supposed to be Jan.
Yeah, I feel like somewhere
but
around
it's pronounced John.
Yeah, I feel like somewhere there's like a German guy and his name is John, but it's like JAHN or some shit like that.
It's all about the pronunciation.
Yeah. But yeah, that is our in-depth coverage of the name John and all of its spelling variations. But
I do get Jonathan a lot, and I'm just like,
yeah.
Like, no.
It's not short for anything. It's just John, right?
Yeah, just strictly John.
Yeah. So yeah, shout out to Bryo and the whole Kick Up crew.
Yeah.
There's another artist, Bales. Shout out to him one time.
He
also came out with his album. Check him out on Spotify. Links are always in the description down below.
Yeah, man. I just love to support, just Jersey artists.
Yeah,
and people that I've grown up with.
Like
more or less, I've grown up with.
them. Yeah. I hadn't noticed that at all. Like I didn't know like I wasn't very active on social media when I was in high school, but I did catch glimpses of like people like, posting links to like people's SoundCloud and stuff. Like that was back when like SoundCloud was still like a new thing.
Yeah.
But I hadn't like really checked any of that out, was even really interested in it. But man, like it's funny because like you graduate with all these people and like inside their head they all have like these thoughts of like things that they want to pursue. And this is like the time, like our time where we're all like approaching our 30s and whatnot. This is the time where like you see a lot of that come out, and it's like fucking cool as hell to like see people like pursue different aspects. Like, it's so easy to like have an idea and just like, stay in your bed with the covers on and be like, oh, I'm too scared to do any of this shit. But like, anybody who's able to break through that and say, fuck that, like, this is the day I'm going to take that first step and, like, actually making something in my life. Just kudos to anybody who's, like, able to do that, because it takes a lot of, like, mental hurdles to, like, be able to do that. Because, like,
for sure.
Especially, publishing things on the internet today, like, you know, you're gonna have your haters, you're gonna have people that don't mess with your stuff, and that could be super discouraging. But like, looking at that on its face and saying, you know what, I'm still gonna make shit, and realizing that, you know, whether it be music or like art or whatever, it's always like a work in progress, and you always have to like keep getting better at it. So your first shit might not be the best, but
for sure,
that's part of like being in the gym and just keep shooting shots.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know, that's
practice. You know,
yeah, that's how you get
it's
better.
Very cliche, but practice definitely makes perfect.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, shout out to those people, and shout out to anybody. Like, if any of y'all are like pursuing something, come talk to me about it, because like I wanna talk about it. I find it interesting, and I think other people should know about it. And, you know, if it is like a public thing, like, you know, something that the public can consume, then I want to share that too, because, you know, why not? And, you know, we all graduated from the same high school, and contrary to popular belief, this is not a Dickinson podcast, but it just so happens that everybody I know is from Dickinson. But it's just kind of cool to see like local, like Jersey City talent like come up with shit. And this is us. Like, this is our way of like, you know, I was just talking to you off air about how you had moved out of Jersey City, and how a lot of other people have also started to move out of Jersey City. But like, you're still a Jersey City kid. Like, you know, even though you're living somewhere else, like, you know, that's still with you. Like, that's part of like your upbringing.
It'll forever be a part of me.
Yeah, for sure. And so like, we gotta reclaim, man. We gotta
we gotta take the city back.
They're taking our shit. Yeah. We gotta reclaim. We gotta show that people here have something. And
man,
it's super cool. So back to where the hell we first met. I have no idea, but the point is that I had like a series of questions where there was like how is John? What is John? Who is John? But cause like even in high school, I don't feel like, and obviously I'm gonna put all the blame on myself because I'm just not naturally a social person. So like, I graduated with a lot of people that I just don't know. Like, I know of John, but like, tell me, who is John? Like, like, also, I'm a terrible host. Could I get you some water?
Awesome.
Yeah. But while I'm doing that, tell me who John is.
Who am I? Shit.
I'm sure you're probably not used to hearing that question. Like, who am I? That's a very
Well, I mean, I've been on how many job interviews?
That's a very existential question.
I've been on like
who is John?
two job interviews.
Yeah. Do they ask you that? That's crazy. They'd be like, "Hello, John.
Well, they
who are you?"
Something like that. I guess it all alters like to the same question. Let me think.
Like, I think a lot can be found out from like your upbringing. So you said you was the youngest.
Yeah.
You had siblings or no?
Yeah, I have three older sisters.
Jeez, what was that like? I'm surprised you didn't come out. I'm surprised your name isn't like Jennifer now. Stop. If his name was Jennifer, I'd still have him on the podcast.
I mean, it was, I guess, like growing up with three sisters, you learn to understand.
Were you spoiled at all?
Yes, I could say I was spoiled.
Yeah. The big sisters protecting.
Yeah, my sister spoiled me for the most part. My dad, you know,
especially being the youngest, is like, oh, like that's our little brother. Yeah. Like,
it definitely came with his perks, you know. I guess I understand women more, or have a better understanding. I don't fully understand women because you never really.
Well,
do.
No one ever fully. but it's funny because like there was a chat where they were talking about that, like how somebody's upbringing has an impact on like, you know, the emotional relationships that they have with women, and like guys aren't really taught to like open up about their emotions, and it can be hard to do that even with a significant other. So it's like some people are in a situation where like, you know, the woman wants to like let the guy know that it's okay for him to like be vulnerable and shit.
Yeah.
But you know, us guys is like, man, I ain't no bitch. Like, I ain't scared of nothing. Like, you know, we out.
I mean, for the most part, like I think I'm a real person, so I do. Oh,
that's great. Yes.
I keep it. I keep it 1,000.
Yeah,
I try to at least.
Ooh, not even 100. He keeps it 1,000. Let's go. I feel that.
So, I guess, there's certain topics that are touchy,
yeah,
that you
for
don't
sure.
want to talk about.
Yeah, for sure.
But
in general, do you feel like
I think I
you
can
don't
talk
have
about
issues
anything.
being vulnerable about things like?
Well, I guess
in this
depends.
case, like it'd be like with your significant other. Like, do you have any issues like opening up? Like,
no.
And also, this is not a therapy session. Just like it's just a random question that popped up.
No, I don't think I have any issues as far as that.
Yeah,
but like I said, there's certain subjects that are touchy. That as men you don't want to open up about.
Yeah. So you grew up in Jersey City, right?
Yeah.
What grammar school did you go to?
PS 37 Cordero.
37,
which is in where that is? Is in downtown Jersey
City. Okay.
Right off of Erie Street.
Yeah.
I went there from pre-K to 8th grade.
Jeez, yeah.
So technically, I only went to 2 public schools.
Yeah. That's one of those things. That was back when these schools could have like all those grades. Like by the time I graduated, like all those schools were just turning into like middle schools and like elementary. Yeah.
Annexes. It's nuts.
Yeah, word. So, just trying to get like a sense, just like what one of your interests that I noticed, just like stumbling upon your work is like obviously music, and I'm just wondering, just like like what was your introduction to that? Like, was there a song that made you be like, yeah, I want to be a producer, or like how, like what was the train of thought behind that?
Well, growing up, I've always been around music. My father plays the guitar. Excuse me, my father plays the guitar. Mm-hmm. He always had. And when I was in grammar school, I used to be in the band, marching band.
A word?
Yeah.
What would you play?
Played the drums.
Drums? Hey.
Yeah, I used to play the snare.
Oh, man. I watched Drumline once and wanted to do that, but I was like, I didn't have any venue to do it. And like,
but it's funny because like now, like I look back at it and I'm like, I really never took it serious. I just thought it was just, either just a class.
It's just a background thing.
Yeah, just like a extracurricular activity that was just part of that school.
Now, did you pick up drums like as an introduction to your band, or were you already playing before you got into the band?
No, that was just
your introduction.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting. And that was in grammar school.
That was in grammar school.
Yeah, man. You see. Look, this is the difference between schools that have like band programs and the ones that don't. Yeah. Because like, shit, like, obviously you never know when you're little, right? Like you're kind of like a sponge, and everything you come into contact with, you absorb. And when you're older, you can look back on that stuff and realize, oh, this is that moment that I started pursuing music, or this is the part where you fell into the wrong crowd, or like
that should happen.
There's a bunch of things like there's a quote I think is like by Steve Jobs, how like life doesn't make sense moving forward, but like looking back is how you connect the dots. So like you can keep live life or whatever like in the present. And a lot of things in your life just won't make sense. But when you look back on it, you connect the dots. And like, that's why
that's true.
When people say like life advice, you always got to take it with a grain of salt, because at the end of the day, they're always talking about their experience. And they're always thinking back on their life, kind of like a story. When in reality, no one's life really is like a story. Like things just kind of happen, and in the present, it might feel like, man, this is like the right place and the right time to like be doing this. But then years later, you look back and you're like, oh, this happened because I talked to this person and this person knows that person. Like
I agree.
It becomes a story looking back on it, but like in real life, you're just like living.
I think because everything happens for a reason.
Yeah. And
for the most part,
I mean, it's interesting, right? Because like I've had a couple people on and have asked them, because whenever I hear that phrase, like everything happens for a reason, I wonder like, what is your take on like destiny? Like, do you believe in that?
I do, actually.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me more about that. Like, do you feel like, do you have like an idea of like what your like final self is going to be, and do you think you'll get there no matter like what?
Well, first, I believe you have to find yourself. Find what your passions are. I think that's the most important, because if you're just living life and you don't really have any like passion for anything, then you either have to find it or.
Did you find yourself?
I did.
Yeah. What was your process like?
Actually,
because I think a lot of people are like
actually funny. I took shrooms.
Oh, word?
Yeah.
Hey, you took a whole trip, and then at the end of the trip, like
I took them a couple times, three times.
Yeah.
And each time I like unlocked.
Like the next level.
Yeah.
It was like,
it's like no bullshit.
Like
no
you did like
bro.
Mario. You just grew up like.
It's fucking crazy.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
You have to have the mindset for it.
Okay. This just got interesting. So like, so tell me what your experience with that was like. I'm hoping you did it like in a group with like people that you trust and stuff. Like they were able to supervise you, so you weren't on the street like like wallet out.
So we first time I did it was in my friend's shed. He has a shed in his backyard, and when I got there, I was coming off of work, and I'll shout them out. My friend Omar, my friend Dave, and my friend Brian.
Shout out.
So they were already tripping off the shrooms when I got there. And I just started seeing like all the fun they were having, just everything that they were. Yeah, it was fucking. It was.
You're like, let's get it.
It's pretty dope. Like the shit that they were describing, like just different patterns and textures in the wall or like tiles or whatever. Yeah. I was like, man, this is different. Like, fuck it, let me try it. Yeah. So when I tried it, first you get the uncontrollable giggles. Yeah. And you're just
everything becomes funny.
Yeah, like literally just like not even just laughing, like rolling on the floor type of funny.
Okay. Did you see any visuals? Like I have no experience with any of that, so I have no idea. Like what happens? Like
it depends on how much you take.
Yeah.
So I took about half an eighth, which is enough to get you to feel the effects. Yeah. I heard the hallucinations if you take more than that.
Oh, okay. So you didn't experience any of that?
I didn't experience the hallucinations, but I experienced, just the actual like dopeness of the I guess drug,
Yeah, I guess it's like a euphoria. Like
exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm just plotting in my mind, just contemplating everything that up until that point.
Yeah.
And when was that? That was about 7 years ago.
Damn.
7 years ago.
Okay, yeah.
So whatever was going on in my life at that point, it just brought me to where I am now.
Interesting. Wow.
So I was just going through my mind, and you just, like you said, the levels, like you actually feel.
Yeah. So you felt it that first time, and you was like, I think I could take it a little further. Like I could unlock another level. But what does that feel like afterwards? Like, does it like
it's the worst come down?
A word?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Your stomach's fucked up for like a week.
Yeah. But I mean, it's kind of like you take the good with the bad. Like, ooh, I unlocked a level of myself, but also I feel like shit. Like,
yeah. It was definitely a bad come down.
But because it's interesting that you attributed it to that. Like, how like after your first experience, like did you take any steps to like, or was it more like,
Well, I took from whatever I guess learned about myself and other people, and just made it like a daily mental thing,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's interesting because you never really know like how people will react to things, and like some people are very superstitious. I don't know. Are you like some people like. They'll run into something, and like I remember there was something in the news where like there was like this cracker shaped like the Virgin Mary or something, and somebody was like it was like encased in something, and like everybody was like praying to it or something, or like they'll walk and they'll see like something that looks like a number, and they're like, ooh, like that's a sign. Like, I don't know.
I mean, I've tried like my birthday on like on a lottery ticket.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's pretty safe. Yeah.
But I don't know, like for me, superstition is probably just maybe a myth.
Yeah.
I mean, some people maybe get lucky with certain things.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, you never really know like what is like the cause and effect of things. So like people like attribute meaning to things that probably don't have any meaning.
Yeah.
And so like, but it helps them. And so at that point, it's like whatever helps. Like, hey, like
you can,
like if that helped you
can't knock it.
Yeah. If that helped you become a better person, then shit. Like keep reading signs on the street. Like like whatever's helping. So Wow, so that's interesting. So you do feel like you found yourself. So now do you kind of feel like, are you like on a path, do you feel, or at this point are you kind of just like going with the flow and just seeing like what happens? Like, do you have, kind of like the interview question, like what is your 5-year plan?
See, I think that's one thing, is like trying to live in the moment.
Yeah.
Where if you plan things out, it may not go to plan.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But I mean, you do have to aim somewhere. So at least
have an idea. Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm kind of just going with things, but I do have like a plan on what I really want to do.
Yeah.
Which is, produce music.
Yeah.
That's like the main focus.
Yeah.
But, shit could change.
Oh, yeah.
Shit could definitely change.
And it's good that you said that, because I think that's the case with like anything. Like when you get into anything, you kind of don't know what path this will lead you on. Like, I've talked to some people who have asked me off air about this whole podcasting and like, what am I looking to get out of it? I'm like, I'm just having fun.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like,
and that's the dope thing about it.
Yeah. Like I'd rather be like doing something than nothing. And so, I can't tell you, kind of like back to the quote, like I can't tell you right now what this is going to be, but like if it ever does become something, that's now a story, right? Like I can look back and be like, oh yeah, I started off just doing this for fun in my kitchen, and then it became something.
But I think that's the destiny part.
Yeah.
That's
interesting.
Is the end of the road.
Yeah.
What brought you up to the end point? How you started to, I guess, from start to finish, all the in between is what will get you there.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's how it goes.
Yeah.
But if you stick to what you want to do, then I think that's your destiny.
Okay, so that's an interesting perspective, because like when a lot of people think about destiny, it's kind of like something that happens to you. So it's like it's almost like you're not an active person in it. It's almost like this is like the end of the road, whether you do something or not. Like,
okay,
but you're at least acknowledging that there is like an element of your life that you control, and so like it's almost like you're kind of saying like you're almost controlling your destiny, because like the things you do are the thing that becomes like what your end will be. So like you're pursuing music. That's not to say it is your destiny to become a music producer, because like you acknowledge things could change, right? Everything in life changes, and you might end up like going back to school and becoming a lawyer or some shit. Like, although you're probably thinking like, hell no, like I ain't trying to do that. Like,
not another 4 years.
But yeah, it's funny because like piggybacking off of that, like, when we're young, we're always asked like what we want to be when we grow up, and
how do you really know?
Exactly, right? As like
I
a person who can barely fathom like how to do anything.
I think we get asked that question before we could cross the street,
before we can make thoughts.
Without like our parents or anything.
Like
that.
I'm thinking about like fucking Pokemon and shit. Like, why are you gonna ask me like?
Like I remember, just writing down, those series of questions when I was younger. I used to play baseball, from when I was a little kid to high school. Yeah. And I mean, sometimes I play sports, but and I would write like, I want to be a fucking baseball player. I want to be a first baseman for the Yankees, and go on and win World Series and all this stuff. It's like, that's great. I have a lot of ambition, but it's a really long shot.
It's funny because like Chris Rock actually has a joke about it. He's like, you can be whatever you want to be in life if somebody's willing to pay you for it. And he's like, the rest of y'all better learn how to weld. And it's like, it's not realistic, like to be like, ooh, I want to, it's cute to tell little kids like, hey, you can be like, whatever you want to be to an extent. Like, it's almost like when you're that young, you don't know what you want to be, so you can't really pursue that hardcore because you're still living life. Like you're still like understanding the world around you. So,
and at that age, like,
you
just had so much life ahead of you.
Yeah.
you know. So.
But that's the thing. Like, if I was smart, like, let's say if I was like mad, let's say I was a little kid and I was like mad, like self-aware.
That would be scary.
Yeah. First of all, that would be scary as hell. But if I was mad self-aware, I'd be like, wait a minute. So I'm doing this whole school thing so that I can do like a 9 to 5 and then relinquish all my control and this is what my life is going to be, and you're saying that I'm supposed to do this until like 65 and then
That's
retire.
100% facts, bro.
Why would I want to do that? I'm gonna stay in school. Like, all my friends are here, I get to eat lunch with these people, I get to talk with them, and I get to learn stuff. Like, why would I want to leave this? Like, why do I want to go into like...
It's part of the social control that we're under, you know. We have to we have to go to school, you know, after school, get a good job, you know, work that 9 to 5, and
isn't
then go
it crazy
home,
how that hasn't
provide.
changed in so many years? Like, that's been like, there are still people that are still on that same track, and like, you know, it's kind of more hardcore now, because you know how we were talking about when we were young, like all we thought about was like cartoons and shit, and like things that we saw on TV. Nowadays, like I'm like just reading articles about like, you know, parents planning like tutors like in pre-K. Yeah,
man.
And they're preparing their child for Harvard in pre-K. Like, like that, like that's got to be crazy. Yeah. And like, there's like preschools that are like super competitive, and like the parents are doing all this stuff to like get their kid into preschool. And it's like, oh my God, like
you hear about like a lot of prestigious schools, and how did they get there? You know, I guess it started with the students, obviously. Yeah. But it becomes a competition. Yeah. I mean, I get it, you know. Yeah. There is room for competition in schools. Yeah. But when you put your child through like, you know, just constant, like you have to learn, you know, just knocking them over the head with books and stuff, it really just, it kills their childhood.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Because I think there's a thing, one of our earlier podcasts, like, I discussed with like the people that were around me, like, when do you think is like the right time for like, say, a kid to be exposed to the internet or something like that? Because it almost feels like there are some times where like there's like a right time and a right place for like knowledge, right? Like I find like I read a lot of stuff about just like people and like kind of like their life journey and like their career goals or whatever. And you find that there are people who like will recall their high school experience or their grammar school experience and say like, I hated this subject. And then they became like, let's say they hated math, right? But later on in their career, they became like an accountant. And it might have been because at that point of their life that they were in, they just weren't feeling math at the time, or like they didn't. Maybe it's sometimes it comes down to like just having a bad teacher, right? Like, I'm actually releasing an episode. This is like, I'm talking to John before I release this episode, but like this is like, by the time this is out, this has already happened. But I did an interview or like conversation with LaKendrick. I don't know if you know who that is. Yeah.
Hell yeah! Shout out LaKendrick.
Yeah. Shout out Kuda, LaKendrick, whatever you want to be called.
It's funny, when I in high school, like he used to come up to me like, "Yo, what's up, bro?" Yeah. I used to thought that was cool, like this guy doesn't even know me, showing me like genuine love.
No, he's mad cool, bro. Like I didn't know him at all when we when we did the interview. I just knew that he was making moves, and I was like, as an outsider, I have to admire that. Like I'm like, yo, that's lit. Like, I never understand.
I watched that episode too.
Well, you saw a snippet when the episode. The episode will be dropping on Sunday, and it's probably, you know, and I kind of say this about a lot of my episodes, but this one, it really feels like kind of like one of my best episodes because, kind of like in this one, like, you know, I didn't know much about you prior to us meeting here, but like just in our conversation here, like I already have an idea of like, you know, what type of time you're about, you know, like, you know, where you want to go in life. And when I was talking to him, one of the things I just found interesting was like, you know, here's this guy that, you know, I probably like met once, like just like glancing by in like high school, like before high school. But he's always been like mad cool. And like as an outsider, like not knowing much about his life, I had seen stuff that he did, and I was like, yo, that's cool. And like, you know, we'll still like dap you up, like he's known you for like mad years. And I just thought that was mad cool, because I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Like I don't know you, but like I admire you from a distance. And basically I would just tell him like, yo, just keep doing what you're doing. Like, you know, there's, you know, like we talked about before, there's all these twists and turns that life can take us in.
Yeah.
And sometimes you could like lose all of that, or like you could like all it takes is like one bad decision to like, you know, ruin somebody's life and like go the wrong way. But like when somebody's winning, I've never understood the mindset of like hating people that are doing well, you know, like being mad at somebody else's success. Like the way I see it is like there's mad room for all of us to grow. Yeah. And like if somebody's doing well, that's fucking lit. That's like, you know, especially if you grew up with them, like that's an indication like, hey, you know, this is possible. Like if somebody that looks like you did it, then there's a chance that you could do it too. And
but that's the thing, is it's self-hate.
Yeah.
You know,
for
you
sure.
see somebody that looks like you, or, you know, same community, same neighborhood, same city, same state, that, you know, they're doing things that I guess you wish you could be doing. Yeah. And you're like, fuck, man, you know.
Yeah, there's that angle too.
Yeah, you know, I should be there. I should be doing that.
Yeah.
But they're actually doing it. Yeah. So, you know, it's actually a self-reflection, and you start to hate yourself.
For sure. For sure.
You know, you start to regret things, and then you're like, you know what? I can't see myself hating myself, you know.
Yeah.
So I have to, you know, hate somebody else.
Yeah. I can see that. Yeah. And I mean, my perspective is like, if you have the mindset of like, hey, this person's doing it, I should be able to do it. Yeah. Then my question is like, why don't you? Yeah. Like, do it. Yeah. Like, what is stopping you? And obviously, you know, like, you know,
I have those questions too.
Yeah, when we were talking about like, you know, destiny and all that, and you know, sometimes like we don't know people's lives, and sometimes people have like life situations that kind of like put you down and stuff. And one of the things I had talked to him about is like, one of the cool things about being a human is that we're so resilient. Like we face adversity and we overcome it, and then we become a stronger person as a result of it. Right. So like you can run into something that's like a problem in your life, but then you can flip that on its end. Like whatever that problem is, like if you think hard enough about it, there's probably like a way to overcome it. And there's nothing like being backed up in a corner that makes you like mad creative. Like, you know, like, you know, I found personally sometimes like even in school, like there'd be like a deadline for a paper and I wait obviously the last second. But like for some reason, the pressure of having to like hand that in makes me just go beast mode. And like, I end up creating a better paper than I would have if I was just like, if I had like 2 weeks left to do it. There's something about pressure that makes
you work better under pressure.
Also another Chris Rock quote, he said, pressure makes diamonds.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, something about that stuck with me. It's like, yeah, like, you know, life doesn't have to be easy all of the time. Like there's some of the people, a lot of the people that I know have gotten to where they are because they did overcome stuff. Like, you know, they had to like work early on, or they had to like hustle, whatever you have to do, but you fucking fought and you got to where you are. So I don't know. I just think that's cool. Since we jumped all over the place, I think we were talking about no, but this has been great. Let me see. Okay, yeah, we're still good on time. Like I'm always scared that the if you guys ever see on some episodes where I'm looking over at, like most of the time I just look at the guest, but like there's times where I'm like looking at the camera. What I'm looking at is the battery indicator, because like I'll be so tight if we like did all of this and like imagine I didn't press record or like imagine like, you know, it's still a good conversation, but you know, like part of this is like I want to share it with everybody and like
see this would be hard for that, like if this would stop recording, you know, all the gems that we have.
Exactly.
Like for me, like if I'm recording somebody and I don't record it, you know, I just happen not to press record, we could always just do it again.
Exactly.
You know, it's either like something memorized or written down.
But yeah, there are some of these things that I can't redo because these are like, you know, like I'm ping pong.
We're freestyling.
Exactly. So like for context, like I had all my notes here and my screen is black. Like I'm not even looking at anything. But it's like hilarious. But Okay, so music, right? So you did bands, right? You
Band
played guitar, drums,
Yeah.
right? And so that was kind of like your introduction, right? Like, and you said before that your dad was like into music or something.
Yeah.
He played guitar, right?
Guitar, still does.
Yeah.
And then in high school, I was in the band.
Oh, you were? Okay.
4 year,
You had like DeVito, is it the guy's name?
DeVito.
Shout out to him one time.
I would like to know what's up with him now. You know, is he still teaching there? Do you know?
I have no idea. Yeah, yo. But yeah, I know some people who were also in the band. So
that's how I met Jose.
Yeah.
He was in that band.
Exactly. Comment down below. Where's DeVito? Let John know.
Where's DeVito?
yeah. Where's Waldo? Where's DeVito? But
there's a couple of people I follow in that that were in that class that I follow.
Yeah.
Can't really think of their names right now, but I do know.
Yeah. Okay. So Jose was one of those people, and Jose's a dear friend of mine, and I don't remember where me and him first met. It might have been like some chemistry class, but like
you guys met in high school.
Yeah, in high school.
Oh,
yeah,
wow, okay.
yeah. He's actually one of the people that I like when this whole podcasting was just like an idea, like in the back of my mind. He's one of the people that I just like told about, and he was just kind of like, yeah, like do it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. It was just like basically like stop thinking about it. Like if you're trying to do it, just go do it. Then I was like,
Nike.
Don't sue us. Actually, y'all don't get to keep that. Like that's like too simple for y'all to keep. But like, he mentioned that, and I was like, and when obviously the first episode, like, I had started off with him, and we were on a counter not that different from this one, on like these crappy laptops, trying to record it and trying to get it to work. Like, you know, you was asking me off air, like, how did this all start? And like, it was like about 3 years ago where we first had the conversation about it, and like kind of like the game plan. Like, we had started it kind of like initially like, it was almost like a partnership. We were like each like kind of like invested into like getting this to happen. But you know, Jose's amazing, and he finds like a billion other things to go be good at. So I was like, okay, you could go be good at other stuff. I got this podcast shit, and you know, we out here.
So you just needed that. I guess not support, but just that somebody
I
just
say
be like
support. Because you know, I may have not done it otherwise. Like it might have just been like an idea in the back of my head, and it might have stayed an idea. It might have not like became something. And
that's true, because I think I have like a similar story.
Yeah, he's been instrumental in like any of this happening, and you know, even like pitching new ideas. Like, you know, we had started off like this, and then we did like these big like group podcast like with like mad people in it, and then I kind of wanted to get back to like this one-on-one, like, you know, having a conversation type thing, which is how me and him started. And he was the first person I brought on, and like I told him about it. He's like, yo, let's do it. And then like, you know, like there's something to be said. Like, okay, so I had a whole episode like me appreciating him as a friend, so you can go check that one out. But I'm like, but I'm still gonna give him some love and say like, yo, shout out to Jose one time. I have no idea where any of this would be if I didn't have at least like feedback, like just words, you know.
Sometimes that's what you need.
Words are strong. Like, it's not like I'm like, hey, do this for me, or like help me do this. It's like, I have an idea for this, and somebody just saying, you should go do it. Like,
but had he said, no, that's a terrible idea, would that have gave you the motivation still to do it?
It depends.
Or you would have gone to somebody else because you were just looking for that.
That's interesting, because it's not like I was looking for a reason to do it, but when I think about how I was raised, I was never really raised like as a go-getter. I always I was planned before I do things. Like, I don't know if it's like growing up like in such a strict household, like you always like, if you grow up with strict parents, anybody that grew up with strict parents, you know that you always have to ask permission before you do something. Yeah. And when you get older, it's kind of hard to like shake that. Like, you kind of have to like think like, oh, I'm free. Like, you mean I don't have to ask permission anymore? Like who do I ask permission now? Like, it wasn't a case of that, but I can see how, like, even talking about it to somebody, I can see how maybe I'm like seeking, like, oh, like, is this a good idea or something? Because, like, but the reason, like, why I had started it was because I was tired of it just being an idea. Like, before I even talked to him, it was already an idea in the back of my head for at least like 2 years prior to that, and I had just been like thinking about like how it would look and like what would make it a good one. But then I was like, okay, and especially after my conversation with him, I'm like, you know what, like I'm not gonna get like a perfect one right off the bat, and you know,
it's always going to be a hit and miss.
Yeah, exactly. And so anybody that looks at my catalog can see I've experimented doing a bunch of shit, and that's because I don't have any idea what I'm doing, but I'm just kind of feeling it out. I'm just kind of like trying shit and saying like, you know, this isn't the perfect one, but it's one, and I can build off of that. Yeah. And, you know, shit, since I've started, I've learned so much about doing this. And, you know, that's dope. It's something about the journey, right? Like, when you see somebody that's successful, a lot of people see successful people at what they do, and they're like, yo, they make it look so easy, right? And you look at them and you're saying, you know, some people will look at the people and say, hey, I think I could do that, or I wish that was me or something. But they never say, I wish I went through that person's journey, right? Like, you know, let's say, do you like any actors or any musicians, or like who are some of the people that you look up to perhaps that maybe inspire your music?
For certain, I'd say J. Cole.
Yeah. So let's go with J. Cole, right? Okay. He's gotten success, right, with what he's done, and he's done it in his own way, right? Like there's, you know, wave of rappers, and like they have a certain way of doing things, but J. Cole, even though he's young, he's kind of like an old head to like the young kids now. Yeah. Like they'll look at him and they'll look up to him. But he's still kind of young in this whole thing. But like, people don't compare him to like, I mean, I don't know enough to know about like what rappers came out alongside of him, like when he broke out. Yeah. But like J. Cole gets like a separate respect for that. And sure. So like when you look at somebody like J. Cole, like you see like the artistry, like obviously he comes with bars, like you know, some people might look at that and be like, yeah, I want to be J. Cole. They don't say, I want to live through everything that J. Cole did to become J. Cole. Do you see what I mean? It's like the difference between the end result and the journey, because the journey is what made J. Cole, like not that end product that you see. Yeah. And so I just find that interesting. Like, you know, I don't know what my end person is going to be, but like, you know, this is the build up to that. Like, this is like, you know, it might not be like the best podcast or like the most polished or whatever, but that's shit that you learn over time. So that's why I'm not even worried about it. I'm like, okay, like, I had like a script or whatever, or like a series of questions I was going to ask him, and I'm not even looking at anything. I'm just like, over time, I'm going to get better at this. And
because I'm pretty sure you watch other podcasts
for sure.
Have you seen Hot Ones?
Hot Ones, yeah. That's with Sean Evans. The Hot Ones one, yeah.
With anything, I guess anything that you start to where you are, there's a culture behind it, you know?
For sure.
So if you keep doing what you're doing, you're eventually gonna, if you haven't already, built a culture. Yeah. So that would be your, I guess, foundation to what you're really trying to do. Yeah. And to go back to you know, I want to be like that person, but I don't want to go through their journey. It's kind of ignorant.
Oh yeah, yeah. You lose sight of like how that person became that. You just want to be
successful, but
exactly
what comes with success.
Exactly. Pain, all the shit. Yup. The whole
every emotion. Like that. You have to go through that. Yeah. Unless, you know, you were brought up to money and you know just became successful that way. But even with that, there has to be some sort of journey
for sure. And that's why,
whether it being your mother or father that were rich, you know, they had to still go through something.
Exactly. And that's why I like the conversation I had with Kuda, because like, you know, in it, like we discussed like kind of like his whole trajectory, like kind of where he started, and one of the hashtags he uses is like Project Kid Turn Success.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing story, and it's one that I wanted to share because I know there's a lot of people that were probably in his position the way he was, and maybe they just don't have that right person to speak to, right? Like recounting like the conversation I had with him, like there was easily a way where his life could have turned the other way and not. He could have not been successful. He could have like he could have been in jail right now.
Yeah,
for all we know, right? Because like there's people we grew up with that ended up going that route. Probably statistically, I'm not saying I know of anybody who did that, but statistically, there's a chance that somebody did that or went that route. But you know, just seeing his journey and shit, like it was cool. So like. Moving forward from that, like I'm interested, like what your journey has been like, because like you obviously, we always keep finding a way to get off this topic, but I promise,
all about me.
Yeah, I promise I want to find out like how you became a music producer. Like what was your, obviously you had the background in like grammar school and high school being in band. Now I remember how we got there. We were talking about Jose and then we But yeah, so you met people in band, and did you ever think at that point that was going to lead into like music production?
I didn't.
Yeah.
At all. I didn't, you know. I just thought like, at least in grammar school, I just thought, you know, just something to do or whatever, you know. Yeah. This was a class, and you know, we had to play an instrument. In high school, it was a little bit more because it was kind of my choice to take the class and to actually be in the band. So it was a little bit more of my choice. But I was also a jock, so not like a typical jock, but I did play baseball.
Yeah, you're kind of like that. Almost feels like it's on like opposite ends of that, like.
Because when you say jock, you're like, oh, you know,
you don't normally think of like
popular kid. And all
that.
You
don't think of the basketball player also like
So like I kind of lean more towards that because I thought it was more cool.
Oh, for sure, yeah. You know, people like.
Also, I played the flute too, so I thought that was.
Shout out to the flute one time. Yeah,
so it was like I'd rather play baseball than play the flute.
Some people.
Stupid, but
I know. Yeah, and especially
because look where I am now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm making flute noises.
Yeah. Now you're programming the flutes into your like timeline and shit. Yeah, that's so cool. Like, and it's funny because like, you know, that is something that could easily hold you back in high school because somebody's like. Yeah, don't play the flute. Like, that's not what a man does or whatever. Because so like baseball looks so much cooler. Or whatever.
So I guess like a part of me growing up was like realizing like, you know, I did a lot of shit that, you know, would seem cool in other people's eyes, but you know, it was like, Then it took years to really figure out, and then. Yeah, because you know, trying to find yourself, you're like, yo, like what really is it that I want to do? You know.
Yeah, it's almost like you have to find that out yourself. Like other people might think it's cool, but then you're like, no, man, I'm playing baseball because, you know, I don't want to be made fun of or whatever. But then, you know, you come to that conclusion. You're like, oh, like this music shit is kind of dope. And so, like, I'm curious, like, so you weren't sure that being in the band was going to lead to that. Like, what did eventually end up leading to that?
So I actually, was it my junior year, senior year? I believe it was my junior year. I actually broke my wrist. So I actually had to sit out a whole season. It happened during the season too.
That was while playing baseball?
Yeah. Damn. Actually, no. It happened. It happened outside. My clumsy ass might have fell and fucking
try to dunk and shit.
White boy can't jump.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I broke my wrist.
So that gave you some time to sit back and think.
Yeah. So then and then actually. Going into college, I went to Hudson County. Yeah. Hudson County Community College. Yeah. There's no sports teams.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
That's when like, all right, you know, baseball's done, you know.
Yeah.
What could I not to mention played for Dickinson at the time. We were trash.
Yeah, trickety trash, yeah.
Shout out to Dickinson. Straight like Oscar the Grouch. Yeah. So like, you know, we weren't getting recognized or anything like that. Yeah. So yeah, you know, it took a lot of years and just processing and just thinking of like what I really want to do, you know.
Yeah.
And I kind of figured it out, and you know, always music. Like music has always been there. Okay. So you know, like for a little bit of time, I was rapping.
Yeah.
We actually had our own rap band or rap group. It was called The Faction.
Yeah.
I'm actually.
That was still in high school?
No. That was after high school. Yeah. That was like our little group. We got a few songs on SoundCloud out there. I think we
shout out to The Faction.
Yeah. Shout out. That was damn.
You still know those people?
Yeah. Actually, everybody, pretty much a lot of people that are in my circle were in that group.
Oh, okay.
So, and I'm still cool with them to this day.
Yeah.
And I knew them before high school.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
So yeah, I got my same group of friends since.
Yeah,
since
cool.
we were like 11, 12, you know.
Yeah, that's some strong shit.
Yeah. We have like a really good bond and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, writing music and just rapping here and there. And I was like,
so you were just kind of dabbling before you ever decided to like make the jump and become like. At what point did you decide, hey, I'm gonna make a studio? Like, when did it get to that point where you was like, okay, I'm starting to take this seriously. Yeah. Time to buy a bunch of shit.
going to other people's studios and paying, you know, outrageous number, you know, for hours and stuff like that. Yeah. I remember spending pretty much a whole day, like 6 hours in a studio, and I spent like $200, you know, and I don't even think I ever released those tracks. Yeah. You know, so it was like, wow, you know, kind of just wasted money.
Yeah. But in a way, it did kind of lay the groundwork, right? It gave you exposure to those kind of things because, like, you know, it's something like, you know, whenever you look at like a DAW and you see it open, like Logic or whatever, or Ableton or whatever, when you see that open, it was kind of intimidating, especially like if you never had any experience with that. Yes. Like you see all these dials and buttons and plugins that you can use. You're like, where do I start?
I'm still learning.
Yeah.
I could say that I've not mastered Logic, but I've got like the most
proficient.
Yeah, or I could do, you know, whatever you want.
I mean, there's always room for improvement.
Yeah, of course.
Like, but that's
first opening it, I'm like,
but that was one of those things, right? Like, if you hadn't gotten that exposure early on, like, it might have been way harder to get into because it's not like in school, right? Where like you have a test and they give you like this book and you study this and then you have the test. Like, that's not how that kind of stuff works. Like, you have to see like people use it. You have to see like, okay, this is how people are laying beats down. This is how people are laying the tracks down. Yeah. Just like kind of getting a feel for visually like how this stuff works. Like, and I'm curious, like what was your like learning process? Like, did you do like a lot of YouTube videos or like?
Yeah. So like a lot of things were hands on. Like I'm very good with hands on. So like if I see somebody doing something, then you know, odds are I'll pick it up on my own. Yeah.
Like it's not enough to just give you like a big ass book and be like, "Hey, John, read this," and you'll learn everything by the end. Because that's like rough. In my opinion, that's
because then let's say if you're like, fuck the first chapter, I want to go to like chapter 6. You know, I want to fuck the basic shit. I want to just learn. You know, I want to go to the advanced. Yeah, it might be a little harder because you didn't go through the basic stuff. Exactly. You know, you have to start. You have to start at page 1. Yeah, and really understand the program and stuff like that. So like what I did was I started it up, but what I first seen was just other producers and other people that were around me, you know, messing with the software, and I'm just looking, observing. Yeah. And then I would go to YouTube. You know, how do I do this?
Yeah, shout out to YouTube one time.
Hell yeah, YouTube is
one of the best learning resources, probably better than high school. Let's keep it a book.
Life hacks on YouTube. So it took me just every day just going in there, 5 hours out of the day just learning new things.
Yeah. And so basically you had mentioned, you had been having these studio sessions and, it adds up. Like, you keep going to these studio sessions.
Put the time in.
Yeah, exactly. Because, it's a money investment as well as a time investment. Yeah. So, like, that made you decide, like, okay, at this point, I'm spending mad money in these studios. Like it's time for me to get my own stuff. And like so you built it in the basement. Like that's
but before that it was actually in my it was in my bedroom, and I would use the closet as the booth. It was pretty efficient for a little while.
Oh, facts, yo. People that don't know anything about sound, the closet is like one of the best places because you have all of this isolation, and ideally you want to be in a closed off space so that your voice isn't bouncing off. Like you don't want reverb in your shit. Like
the echo too.
You don't want any of that.
Or just like outside noise, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Like somebody could be in the other room banging and you don't want to hear that.
Exactly. Yeah.
I've had a couple tracks where I had to like go in there and delete it.
Yeah. And actually, that's actually why I turned off the air conditioner when we're about to start. Because like ideally you want like the quietest noise floor to record something. So that's like the inside scoop on sound recording and how to get good sound. But yeah, so what do you have in the works now? Like what are your current projects? What do you see yourself working on in the future?
So right now I'm just recording artists,
you
know, whatever singles they want to put out, mixtapes, stuff like that. Right now we have a High Road's mixtape out.
Shout out to High Road one time.
Smooth NJ's single.
Shout out to Smooth NJ.
Ain't Down is out on
shout out
all
to
platforms.
Just shout out to everybody.
I got a catalog of beats in on my computer. Just a lot of production I have. I want to say maybe over in total 500 tracks between other artists, myself, and you know shit that I have maybe just started and we'll go back to you know just with a different ear. Just to
because I was gonna say I'm like kind of like what's amazing about having a program like that is that you can do anything.
The creative process it brings it out because you could just start something, obviously save it. And just go back to it, you know, with a different ear.
Even if it's like a year later, you'll be like, "Oh shit! Like I made this, and like I could probably add something, add a snare or whatever."
I actually did that. Was it yesterday? I went back and was like, "Oh shit! That sounds dope." Let me tweak with it a little bit.
Because I was also gonna say like a program like that, like the exciting part about it is that you can do anything, but that's also the scary part. And so like the easiest approach is just like keep making shit, just keep making it, save it. You can always go back to it,
and don't feel I guess don't feel controlled or
like it's a creative pursuit. You can go anywhere.
So like my whole thought, like going into it, because I used to rap, was how can I be more involved? How be behind the scenes? You know? I was like, oh, I could be the producer. I could be the actual guy making the music.
Oh, so that's what made you move in trajectory.
Basically from being, you know, I guess the main guy. To where they could exploit me if I was to become like, you know, a top rapper or stuff like that. You know, as the actual artist, I could be exploited. You know, and who wants that? You know, who wants to be rich and famous and not be able to walk outside your door?
Exactly.
Whereas a producer, you know, you're actually the main guy, but nobody really knows who you are.
Exactly.
Which I thought it intrigued me.
That's kind of like swag. Like, like you could be in the background, like you're kind of like the mastermind behind all this stuff, but like you can still be like low key about it. Like, so you get to like you get to witness like all the cool stuff that the artist would normally face, but without any of like the whole like attention and which, like, depending on what kind of person you are, you know, some people love that, like, they love the attention. But, you know, some people like to be behind the scenes, and, like, those people, they make the most amount of difference because, like, you know, who do you think made that beat? Who do you think laid the track down? You know, got a sample, did this and that.
Or even just making you sound the way you do.
100%, yeah. Like, you know, people only see the artist, but like even these days, even with popular artists, most people don't know who produced what track. I mean, like, you know, sometimes you'll have a beat where like somebody will add their drop in it, and like you'll hear like who made the beat, and that's for like the big ones. But like even then, like sometimes you'll hear a beat and you're like, yo, this shit is fire. Who made this? And you have to go out of your way and like look it up.
That's true.
But so shout out to you and Jose for y'all work on that. that seems like a pretty strong team. Like how y'all were able to make that, and just like it's crazy, like to just like start from like nothing, and like you see all the like puzzle pieces get together. Man. Is like, you know,
and I think that's the beauty in it. You see the beauty in the struggle.
For sure, exactly. You know? Yeah.
And I think J. Cole quoted that. Yeah. Well, I'm quoting J. Cole.
Yeah.
Beauty in the struggle, ugliness in the success.
Yeah. So shout out to all y'all. Do you have anything like in the works? Do you have any snippets to share with us, or like like things that are upcoming, or like are you just like, you know, still getting your shots in, you know, trying to keep getting better at what you do?
Unfortunately, I don't have anything on me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, obviously, if we would have planned this better, this could have happened. But
yeah.
I literally texted John today, like, "Yo, like, what are you doing?
I'm coming
Can you slide through after work?" And he did. I
mean, I plan on, you know, making a I guess a production project.
Yeah.
Where it would be all just everything that I made the beat. Mm-hmm. I wanna mix and master everything. Mm-hmm. So I do have a lot of tracks to actually make that happen.
Yeah.
But I think I'm being less selfish, where I want to help other artists.
Yeah, for
because,
sure.
Hey,
and you grow in other ways too. Yeah, exactly. yeah. And one of these days I'll make a separate video about the motto of the show, which I end with like link and build. But yeah, that's kind of like the premise behind it. Like, you know, we each make each other stronger. Mm-hmm. And
because the more people that's shout me out or support me with anything that I'm doing, you know, people turn their heads and be like, you know, who is that?
Yeah,
and I think that's starting to happen.
And I love that about like the kick up guys. Like, they give each other so much support that it's fucking amazing. Like, you know, that's rare, because like those guys are friends, and like you know, they want to see each other succeed, and that's so admirable, even from a distance as an outsider. But I have no idea where my battery's at. But I think this has been an amazing conversation. I would shake your hand, but I feel sweaty, so I'm just gonna thank you, John, for coming on this episode. You're welcome to come back anytime. And we're gonna wrap this one up. So, divided we're awesome, together we're more awesome. Link and build is a motto. We will see you guys on the next one. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace.
Thank you.
Man, we fucking killed it. Holy shit. I didn't turn my tablet on once.